are songs that entertain, and then there are songs that stay with you for a lifetime. During the 1960s, soul music became the voice of heartbreak, hope, love, and survival. Behind every unforgettable melody was a real story of loss, triumph, injustice, or redemption. Some of these songs comforted grieving families. Others united a divided nation, and a few changed popular music forever. The voices you'll hear today didn't rely on elaborate production or flashy performances. They relied on something much more powerful: raw human emotion. These weren't simply hit records. They became emotional landmarks that continue to move listeners decades later, proving that the greatest songs don't just top the charts, they become part of our lives. Every story in this documentary is built from verified interviews, studio records, chart history, and documented music research. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll discover a song whose emotional impact has never faded, more than half a century after it was recorded.
Oh, don't you feel like crying?
Number 10. Ben E. King, Stand By Me, 1961. In early 1961, Ben E. King walked into Atlantic Records carrying an idea that had been quietly growing in his mind. Having recently left the Drifters to begin a solo career, he faced enormous pressure to prove he could succeed on his own. Inspired by the spiritual hymn, Stand By Me, Father, and drawing from memories of church music he heard as a child, King wanted to record a song that spoke about loyalty, courage, and unwavering support. At a time when America was entering one of its most turbulent decades, those themes would soon resonate far beyond the recording studio. Working with legendary songwriting partners Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller, King transformed that gospel inspiration into one of soul music's most enduring recordings. The now famous bass line, steady rhythm, and King's warm, reassuring vocal created an atmosphere that felt both intimate and universal. Rather than singing about romance alone, the lyrics carried a broader message, that even in life's darkest moments, having someone stand beside you could make all the difference. That emotional honesty became the song's greatest strength. Released in April 1961, Stand By Me climbed to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of Atlantic Records' defining releases. Its influence only grew with time. The song returned to the charts after the release of the 1986 film Stand By Me, introducing it to an entirely new generation. Over the decades, it has been performed, covered, and celebrated by hundreds of artists across genres, while remaining one of the most recognizable soul recordings ever made. Whether played at weddings, memorials, civil rights events, or community gatherings, its message has never lost its emotional power. More than 60 years later, Stand By Me remains one of the greatest expressions of comfort ever recorded. Ben E. King's calm, heartfelt performance reminds listeners that strength isn't always found in standing alone. It often comes from standing together. That's why it begins our countdown at number 10. It wasn't simply a hit song. It became a timeless promise that continues to offer hope whenever the world feels uncertain. Number 9. Gene Chandler, Duke of Earl, 1962. Sometimes the biggest songs in history begin almost by accident. Before Gene Chandler ever stepped into the recording booth, he wasn't trying to invent a classic. During rehearsals with fellow singers, the group would often warm up their voices by chanting simple syllables to find harmony. One day, they jokingly repeated the words, "Duke, Duke, Duke," while practicing. Chandler happened to be wearing the title of Duke, a nickname he'd earned while performing in Chicago's doo-wop scene. What started as a playful vocal exercise suddenly sounded unforgettable. Within weeks, that spontaneous chant became the foundation of one of the most recognizable openings in R&B history. Working with producer Carl Davis and songwriter Bernice Williams, Chandler transformed the simple rehearsal idea into Duke of Earl. The recording blended the smooth harmonies of doo-wop with the growing sophistication of early soul music. Chandler's confident lead vocal gave the song both elegance and warmth, while the dramatic "Duke, Duke, Duke of Earl" introduction immediately grabbed listeners' attention. Unlike many heartbreak songs dominating the era, this record celebrated confidence and devotion. It felt joyful, uplifting, and effortlessly cool, helping Gene Chandler establish a musical identity that audiences instantly remembered.
Nothing can stop a Duke of Earl.
Released in January 1962, Duke of Earl exploded across America. It reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, where it remained for 3 consecutive weeks, while also topping the Billboard R&B chart. The single sold more than 1 million copies and quickly became one of the defining songs of the early 1960s. Its success helped bridge the gap between the doo-wop era of the 1950s and the soul explosion that would soon dominate the decade. Television appearances, radio airplay, and constant jukebox rotation turned Gene Chandler into one of Chicago's biggest musical stars, and the song's unforgettable opening became instantly recognizable around the world.
We will share, 'cause I'm the Duke of Earl.
More than 60 years later, Duke of Earl continues to symbolize the golden age of classic R&B. Its influence can still be heard in harmony groups, vocal arrangements, and countless nostalgic films and television programs celebrating the 1960s. What makes the song so enduring isn't just its catchy melody. It's the genuine sense of optimism woven into every note. Gene Chandler proved that sometimes the most emotional songs don't always come from sadness. Sometimes they come from confidence, joy, and the simple feeling of believing in someone completely. That timeless spirit keeps Duke of Earl firmly among the greatest emotional solo performances of the decade. Number 8. Solomon Burke, Cry to Me, 1962. In
And when you're all alone,
1962, Solomon Burke wasn't just another soul singer trying to climb the charts. He was already known as the Bishop of Soul, balancing a career as both a recording artist and an ordained minister. Growing up in Philadelphia, Burke had spent years preaching in church, where he learned that the most powerful voices weren't always the loudest. They were the most sincere. That philosophy followed him into the recording studio. When Atlantic Records handed him a song called "Cry to Me," Burke didn't approach it as a performance. He approached it like a sermon. Instead of trying to impress listeners with vocal tricks, he wanted every word to feel like genuine comfort, offered to someone whose heart had been broken.
Cry to me. Oh, yes. When you wake in the morning, that's such a waste of time.
By legendary songwriter Burt Burns, "Cry to Me" tells the story of someone reaching out to a lonely lover, promising understanding instead of judgment. Burke's rich baritone transformed those simple lyrics into something deeply personal. His delivery was filled with subtle emotion, rising only when the message demanded it. The arrangement remained understated, allowing his voice to carry the weight of every line. Rather than sounding polished or theatrical, Burke sounded like a trusted friend, sitting beside you during life's darkest moments. That emotional honesty became the song's greatest strength and helped define the emerging sound of Southern soul. Released in late 1962, "Cry to Me" became one of Solomon Burke's signature recordings, reaching the top 5 on Billboard's R&B chart, while also crossing over to the Billboard Hot 100. Although it wasn't the biggest commercial hit of the decade, its reputation grew steadily through the years. The song appeared in numerous films, television series, and documentaries, introducing new generations to Burke's remarkable voice. Artists from rock, blues, country, and soul have recorded their own versions, but many critics and fans still consider Burke's original performance impossible to surpass because of its emotional authenticity. His ability to blend gospel conviction with secular storytelling influenced countless singers who followed.
Don't you feel like crying? And when you're all alone.
More than 60 years later, "Cry to Me" remains one of the purest examples of emotional soul music. Solomon Burke proved that vulnerability could be just as powerful as vocal power, and that sometimes the strongest message comes from quiet compassion rather than dramatic heartbreak. His performance continues to remind listeners that healing often begins with someone simply saying, "I'm here for you." That's why "Cry to Me" earns its place at number 8 on our countdown. It isn't remembered because it shouted the loudest. It's remembered because it spoke directly to the heart. Number 7. Major Lance. 1964.
Guess I was born with the curious mind.
Not every emotional song begins with heartbreak. Sometimes, the songs that stay with us the longest are the ones that make us smile. By 1964, Chicago had become one of the hottest cities in American soul music, producing artists whose records blended gospel passion with infectious rhythm. Among them was Major Lance, a singer whose smooth voice and effortless charm made him one of the brightest stars of the city's thriving music scene. But few people realized that behind his biggest hit stood one of the greatest songwriting and production teams in soul history. Together, they would create a record that captured pure happiness at a time when America desperately needed moments of joy. Working with legendary producer Carl Davis, and gifted songwriter Curtis Mayfield, Major Lance recorded at Chicago's OK Records. Mayfield intentionally kept the lyrics simple, allowing Lance's warm, relaxed delivery to become the song's emotional center. The playful title wasn't meant to tell a complicated story. It reflected the feeling of someone so overwhelmed by love and excitement that words alone weren't enough. Backed by the polished musicianship that defined Chicago soul, the record blended catchy melodies, tight horn arrangements, and an irresistible groove that immediately connected with listeners of all ages. Released in early 1964, became the biggest hit of Major Lance's career. The single climbed to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart, firmly establishing Lance as one of soul music's leading voices. Its joyful energy made it a favorite on radio stations, television programs, and dance floors across America. More importantly, the song highlighted the extraordinary talent coming from Chicago's soul scene, helping introduce Curtis Mayfield's songwriting brilliance to an even wider audience. Decades later, it remains one of the defining recordings of the city's golden era. More than 60 years after its release, continues to remind listeners that emotion isn't always found in tears or tragedy. Sometimes it's found in laughter, optimism, and the excitement of falling in love. Major Lance delivered that feeling with effortless sincerity, creating a song that still sounds fresh every time it plays. His performance proves that happiness can leave just as lasting an impression as heartbreak. And that's exactly why this unforgettable classic earns its place at number 7 on our countdown.
I'm a man, I think I understand somehow.
Number 6. Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman, 1966.
When a man loves a woman down.
Some songs are carefully planned inside expensive recording studios. Others are born in a single moment of heartbreak. Before Percy Sledge became one of soul music's greatest voices, he worked as a hospital orderly, singing on weekends with local bands across the American South. Then his relationship with the woman he loved fell apart. Devastated, Sledge walked onto a small stage one night and began pouring his emotions into an improvised performance. The audience fell silent. Friends watching from the crowd realized they had just witnessed something extraordinary. That emotional outpouring would soon become one of the greatest love songs ever recorded. Musicians Calvin Lewis and Andrew Wright, members of Sledge's backing band, helped shape the emotional melody they had heard on stage into a complete composition. Recording took place at Narala Sound Studio in Sheffield, Alabama, under producer Quinn Ivey. There were no elaborate vocal tricks or complicated arrangements. Instead, Sledge relied on something much more powerful: complete emotional honesty. Every crack in his voice, every pause, and every soaring note sounded painfully real. The famous opening line, "When a man loves a woman," immediately pulled listeners into a story of unconditional love, sacrifice, and heartbreak that almost everyone could understand.
Loving eyes and
released in March 1966, When a Man Loves a Woman became an international phenomenon. It reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and #1 on the Billboard R&B chart, making Percy Sledge an overnight star. The song also became the first recording produced at Alabama's Muscle Shoals music scene to reach the top of the pop charts, helping establish the region as one of the most important recording centers in American music. Over the decades, it has been covered by artists including Michael Bolton, Bette Midler, and countless others. Yet Sledge's original version remains the definitive recording because of its unmatched sincerity and emotional power. Nearly 60 years later, When a Man Loves a Woman continues to define what a soul ballad should sound like. It has appeared in films, television, weddings, and concerts around the world because its message never grows old. Percy Sledge proved that audiences don't connect with perfection, they connect with truth. His performance reminds us that the deepest emotions cannot be manufactured, they must be lived. That's why this unforgettable classic stands at #6 on our countdown. It isn't simply one of the greatest love songs of the 1960s. Many believe it's one of the greatest love songs ever recorded. Number 5. Otis Redding, I've Been Loving You Too Long, 1965.
As you become a habit to me, and I don't want to stop now. Oh.
Some singers perform a song. Otis Redding lived every single word. Before becoming known as the King of Soul, Redding had spent years sharpening his craft in small clubs across the South, learning how to connect with an audience through pure emotion rather than showmanship. By 1965, he had already built a reputation as an extraordinary live performer, but he still needed one song that would introduce the depth of his talent to the entire world. That song arrived during a late-night writing session, when heartbreak, exhaustion, and hope blended into one unforgettable melody. What emerged wasn't just another love ballad. It became one of the greatest vocal performances ever captured on tape.
Do it just one more time, one more. Oh! So wonderful.
The song was written by Otis Redding, alongside legendary Stax Records guitarist Jerry Butler. Recording took place at Stax Studios in Memphis, where producer Jim Stewart encouraged Redding to trust his instincts rather than chase perfection. Instead of relying on complicated lyrics, Redding allowed his voice to tell the story. As the song builds, every note becomes more desperate, more vulnerable, and more sincere. His raw delivery, supported by Booker T and the MGs and the Memphis Horns, created a recording that felt less like a studio performance and more like someone pleading directly from the heart. Even the song's famous unfinished ending added to its authenticity, leaving listeners wanting just one more emotional confession.
I've been loving you. Stop now, yeah. I love you.
Released in April 1965, I've Been Loving You Too Long to Stop Now became Otis Redding's breakthrough crossover hit. The single reached #2 on the Billboard R&B chart and entered the Billboard Hot 100, introducing his extraordinary talent to a much broader audience. Critics praised the performance as one of the finest soul recordings of the decade. while fellow musicians admired Redding's remarkable ability to communicate emotion without ever sounding forced. Over the years, the song has been covered by artists including Etta James, Ike and Tina Turner, the Rolling Stones, and countless others. Yet most agree that none captured the emotional intensity of Redding's original recording.
I've been loving you.
Nearly 60 years later, I've Been Loving You Too Long remains a masterclass in emotional storytelling. It represents everything that made Otis Redding extraordinary. His honesty, vulnerability, and ability to make listeners feel every word he sang. Tragically, Redding's life would be cut short just 2 years later in a plane crash at the age of 26, making performances like this even more treasured. His voice continues to inspire generations of singers because it reminds us that true soul music isn't about perfect technique. It's about revealing the truth hidden inside the human heart. That's why this timeless masterpiece earns its place at number 5 on our countdown.
With human love.
Sam Cooke, A Change Is Gonna Come, 1964. Some songs become hits, others become history. In early 1963, Sam Cooke was already one of America's biggest stars, celebrated for romantic classics like You Send Me, Cupid, and Chain Gang. But behind the polished smile was a man growing increasingly frustrated with the racial injustice surrounding him. One incident changed everything. After Cooke and his entourage were refused rooms at a motel in Louisiana because they were black, he was arrested following the confrontation. Humiliated and deeply shaken, Cooke realized that love songs alone could no longer express what he was feeling. He wanted to write something that spoke not just for himself, but for millions of people longing for equality.
Change gon' come. Oh, yes it will.
Inspired by Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind and his own experiences during the civil rights movement, Cooke began writing A Change Is Gonna Come. Unlike his previous hits, this wasn't designed for radio success. It was deeply personal. Working with arranger Renee Hall, Cooke surrounded his voice with sweeping strings, French horns, and orchestral arrangements that gave the song the feeling of a spiritual prayer. Every lyric reflected both pain and hope. From the opening line, I was born by the river, to the unforgettable promise that despite every obstacle, change would eventually come. It was the most vulnerable recording of his career.
And I say, brother, it's been a long.
Released in December 1964, just weeks after Sam Cooke's tragic death at the age of 33, A Change Is Gonna Come quickly became one of the defining songs of the civil rights era. Although it achieved only modest chart success compared to Cooke's earlier pop hits, its cultural impact proved immeasurable. Civil rights leaders, activists, and ordinary Americans embraced the song as an anthem of perseverance. Over the decades, it has been honored by institutions, including the Library of Congress, inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, and consistently ranked among the greatest songs ever recorded. Artists ranging from Aretha Franklin and Otis Redding to Beyoncé and John Legend have performed it, each recognizing its timeless message. More than 60 years later, A Change Is Gonna Come still carries the emotional weight it did when Sam Cooke first recorded it. Its message extends beyond one generation or one movement. It speaks to anyone who has faced hardship while refusing to surrender hope. Cooke proved that music could comfort, inspire, and challenge society all at once. Many historians consider it the greatest soul recording ever made, not because of its commercial success, but because it gave a voice to people who desperately needed one. That's why it stands at number 4 on our countdown. It isn't simply an emotional song, it's one of the most important songs in American music history.
Hang around, it's been a long knocking me.
Number 3, Wilson Pickett, In the Midnight Hour, 1965.
Do all the things I told you in the midnight hour. Come out. See that twinkle.
Some songs don't just launch careers, they define an entire genre. Before Wilson Pickett became one of the most electrifying voices in soul music, he had already spent years singing gospel with church groups before joining the Falcons, where he first tasted success. But after leaving the group to pursue a solo career, Pickett struggled to find the breakthrough that would separate him from the countless talented singers competing for attention. Everything changed when he arrived at Stax Studios in Memphis. Inside that legendary building, surrounded by some of the greatest musicians in America, Wilson Pickett was about to record a song whose energy would change soul music forever.
In the shine, you the only Lord have mercy. Oh, yes, I am.
Working alongside producer and guitarist Steve Cropper, Pickett searched for a groove that felt different from anything on the radio. During the recording sessions, Cropper suggested emphasizing the beat slightly behind the rhythm, creating a deeper, more infectious pocket that reflected the way people danced in southern clubs after midnight. That simple idea became the heartbeat of In the Midnight Hour. Backed by the legendary Booker T and the MGs, Pickett delivered a performance overflowing with passion, grit, and raw emotion. Rather than singing with polished elegance, he attacked every lyric with urgency, making listeners believe every word. His powerful voice blurred the line between gospel preaching and rhythm and blues, creating one of the defining sounds of Southern soul. Released in June 1965, In the Midnight Hour became Wilson Pickett's first major solo hit. The single climbed to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and reached the top 25 on the Billboard Hot 100, transforming Pickett into one of Atlantic Records' biggest stars. The song quickly became a staple of radio playlists, dance halls, and live performances across America. Its influence spread far beyond soul music, inspiring artists in rock, blues, and funk. Performers such as Bruce Springsteen, The Grateful Dead, Tina Turner, and countless others would later record or perform the song, while critics hailed it as one of the greatest rhythm and blues recordings ever made.
Tumbling down. Lord have mercy. Oh, yes, I am.
Nearly 60 years later, In the Midnight Hour still sounds as thrilling as it did in 1965. Its driving rhythm, unforgettable chorus, and Wilson Pickett's explosive vocal continue to inspire generations of singers who study his unmatched intensity. More than just a hit record, it established the blueprint for Southern soul, proving that emotional honesty and raw energy could coexist in perfect harmony. Pickett didn't simply sing about love, he made listeners feel its urgency. That's why, In the Midnight Hour earns its place at number 3 on our countdown. It remains one of the most exhilarating performances ever captured in soul music history.
Tumbling down. I'm gonna hold you and now, just you and I.
Number 2, Jackie Wilson, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me, Higher and Higher, 1967.
Higher, your love that I've been lifted before.
Not every emotional song is born from heartbreak. Sometimes, the most powerful emotion is pure joy. By 1967, Jackie Wilson had already earned the nickname Mr. Excitement, thanks to his electrifying stage performances, incredible vocal range, and unmatched charisma. Long before artists like Michael Jackson and Prince revolutionized live entertainment, Jackie Wilson was already setting the standard. Every performance was filled with energy, precision, and passion. But despite years of success, he was still searching for a song that would capture both his extraordinary voice and his infectious optimism. That song arrived in the summer of 1967, and it would become the defining record of his career. Behind the scenes, the song was crafted by an extraordinary team of songwriters: Gary Jackson, Carl Smith, and Reynard Minor, while legendary Motown musicians, including members of the Funk Brothers, helped shape its irresistible sound. Producer Carl Davis knew Jackie didn't need complicated lyrics or dramatic storytelling. He needed a melody that matched the excitement he brought to every stage. From the opening horn section to Wilson's soaring vocal performance, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me, Higher and Higher, celebrated the overwhelming feeling of finding someone who completely transforms your life. Every chorus built with more excitement than the last, allowing Jackie to showcase one of the finest vocal performances of the decade. Released in August 1967, the single became one of the biggest hits of Jackie Wilson's career. It reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and climbed to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart, reaffirming Wilson's place among soul music's elite. The song quickly became a favorite on radio stations, television programs, dance floors, and concert stages across America. Over the decades, it has appeared in countless films, commercials, sporting events, and television series, ensuring that each new generation discovers its uplifting message. Numerous artists have recorded their own versions, but Wilson's original remains unmatched because of its explosive energy and joyful sincerity. Nearly 60 years later, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me, Higher and Higher, still feels as vibrant as the day it was recorded. It reminds listeners that emotional music doesn't always come from pain. It can also come from gratitude, hope, and celebration. Jackie Wilson's voice radiates happiness in a way few singers have ever achieved, turning a simple love song into a timeless anthem of encouragement. His influence can still be heard in generations of performers who followed, from soul and R&B to pop and rock. That's why this unforgettable classic earns the number 2 position on our countdown. Sometimes, lifting someone's spirit is the greatest emotion music can offer. Number 1, Marvin Gaye, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, 1968. sometimes the greatest songs almost never reach the public. By the late 1960s, Marvin Gaye had already become one of Motown's brightest stars, known for smooth love songs and polished performances. But behind the scenes, he wanted something deeper. Music that reflected real human emotion. When songwriter Norman Whitfield played him a haunting new composition called "I Heard It Through the Grapevine," Marvin immediately recognized its potential. He poured every ounce of heartbreak, suspicion, and vulnerability into the recording. Surprisingly, Motown founder Berry Gordy wasn't convinced. He believed the song was too dark, too intense, and not commercial enough. The recording was shelved, and for a moment, one of the greatest performances in soul music history seemed destined to remain unheard. The song itself had already taken an unusual journey. Written by Norman Whitfield and Barrett Strong, it had first been recorded by The Miracles, then released by Gladys Knight and the Pips, whose upbeat version became a major hit in 1967. Yet Whitfield believed Marvin Gaye's slower, moodier interpretation captured the song's emotional core far more effectively. Layered with haunting strings, dramatic percussion, and one of the most unforgettable bass lines in Motown history, the recording created an atmosphere of heartbreak and uncertainty, unlike anything the label had previously released. Marvin's restrained vocal performance made listeners feel the pain of a man discovering betrayal through whispers and rumors, rather than direct truth. Every phrase carried tension, making the song feel almost cinematic, years before music videos even existed. Finally released in October 1968, after strong support from radio DJs and Motown executives, "I Heard It Through the Grapevine" became an international phenomenon. The single spent 7 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, topped the Billboard R&B chart, and became Motown's biggest-selling single at that point in the company's history. Critics praised Marvin Gaye's extraordinary vocal performance, while audiences connected instantly with the song's emotional honesty. Decades later, it continues to appear on lists of the greatest songs ever recorded and has been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Its influence extends across soul, R&B, rock, pop, and hip-hop, with countless artists covering or sampling its unforgettable groove.
Between the two of us, guys, me yourself, that you love.
More than half a century later, "I Heard It Through the Grapevine" remains one of the defining recordings of popular music. It demonstrated that soul music could be intimate, dramatic, and psychologically complex, without losing its universal appeal. Marvin Gaye didn't simply sing about heartbreak. He made listeners experience every moment of doubt, fear, and longing alongside him. That's why it claims the #1 spot on our countdown. Not just because it topped the charts, but because it forever changed the emotional language of R&B. Every soul singer who followed learned something from Marvin Gaye's performance. And even today, one whispered rumor, one unforgettable melody, and one timeless voice continue to remind us why this masterpiece stands among the greatest songs ever recorded. The 1960s gave us more than unforgettable melodies. They gave us voices that carried the weight of love, heartbreak, hope, faith, and the fight for a better future. If you enjoyed this journey through the 10 most emotional R&B solo tracks of the 1960s, don't forget to subscribe to R&B Blueprint, where we uncover the true stories behind the albums, artists, and songs that shaped generations. Tell us in the comments, which emotional soul song from the 1960s still gives you chills every time you hear it? Your answer might inspire our next documentary. Until next time, keep listening, keep discovering, and remember, every great song has a story. Here at R&B Blueprint, we tell the story behind the music.